finished your first draft. Great job. But now, what comes next? What comes next is part 2 of a really difficult job. But don't be a faint of heart. This is where your work is tried by fire to bring about something truly beautiful. Hi everyone, welcome to Pen to Paper. I'm Leah Lindeman, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series. Today we're going to talk about what comes after once you finish your first draft. And probably for many of you, you have taken part of NaNoWriMo and have your first draft ready to go. But that's not the end of it. There's a whole other section that requires a lot of endurance, patience, but it's a lot of fun if you have the right mindset for it. So I'm going to give you the 4 main steps to take after you've written your first draft. But pat yourself on the back. Writing your first draft is a huge undertaking. Not everyone gets through it. So tell yourself, good job, give yourself a high five, and get ready for the journey ahead. Number 1, you're going to take some time away from it. Number 2, you're going to read it through. Number 3, you're going to edit it, and I'm going to discuss all the different types of editing. And then number 4, you're going to find beta readers. So let's start talking about number 1. You're going to take time away from it, because when you've been writing it day in, day out, 20 minutes every day, an hour a day for 1, 2, 3, 6 months, you are so fully ingrained in it that you cannot have an objective view on your work, which is necessary for the editing process. So give yourself a break. Your story can wait. And the best amount of time to do this would be to give yourself at least 2 weeks. You can go up to a month. I would not go past a month because you still want to keep that fresh motivation to just go after it and give it your all. So just take that time away. Maybe work on a different side project, or work on a short story, or poetry, or flash fiction, or a novella, or a different idea altogether. It's good to take a break, so give yourself the break that you deserve. Number 2, you're going to read it through. You're going to read it through not to correct it. Although if you see very minor corrections, go ahead and correct it. But you're going to read it through to gather a sense, the larger picture sense of what you've written, and key areas that are going to pop out at you, and you're going to be able to take a look at them and say, ooh, this needs reworking. Okay? And you're only going to be able to get that once you've actually read the whole thing through. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, I know my work. I know it inside out. I know you do. I've been through this process 4 times. I know my work inside out. But the point is that once I've taken my break from it, I get to see it with fresh eyes. Hi, kitties. She's just very affectionate tonight. So you get to see a cute little creature in this video. Mwah. But as I said, you get to use fresh eyes to go at your manuscript with renewed purpose. So take the time to read it through. And if you see those larger areas that need reworking, not if, but when you see those areas, you can't really write, well, page 5, page 128, because your pages haven't been formatted yet. So instead, you're just going to use either color coding or the yellow commenting. I have Pages on my Mac. You probably use Word, but you can highlight a section and then just write a quick little note saying, need to come back and rework this. So that way you're not forgetting what you see with the fresh perspective. Number 3, you're going to do your edits. Now this is definitely a much bigger step. And even before you get it professionally edited, you want to edit it yourself because you want to, first of all, put in the most that you can into your work and also show that you are capable and professional and that you're not just giving your editor something rough that you're really going to have to, kitties, this is ridiculous. You're giving your editor extra work that, I mean, sure, they could do it, but do you really want to be spending extra money for them to do extra work that you can be doing yourself? No. Save yourself some pain and your editor some pain and do the work that's expected of you. So what kind of edits am I talking about? Well, letter A, number 1 of edits is developmental edits. So remember I said that you have to kind of read your work to see the larger areas that need reworking. Well, this is where you come back to your work and you go to your highlighted notes or your color-coded notes and you start reworking your area. So this is where I'm talking about, let's say, this scene should not be in chapter 10, it needs to be moved to chapter 5, and we need to have more information in chapter 23, so chapter 25 makes sense. Those type of bigger ideas, developmental edits, that's what happens in this stage. Then the second type of editing that you're going to have is prosaic editing. And what do I mean by prosaic editing? Basically what you're doing is you're using a funnel. You're starting out from bigger ideas to smaller ideas to smaller ideas to get your product down to the pinpoint that it needs to be at. So the developmental ideas are right at the top. We're going now to prosaic edits. What does that entail? Sentence structure, paragraph flow, cohesiveness. Okay, maybe I'm using a lot of big words, so let me give you some examples. Making sure that not all of your sentences start with subject, verb, and direct object, or they're all starting with prepositions. Your sentence structure needs to have variety. So, start off one sentence with a preposition, then you can do the next 2 sentences with your subject, verb, and direct object. Have some variety, but also making sure that your sentences, your paragraphs flow naturally so that when the reader reads it, it's a natural way of using language. And also in here could be the way that paragraphs, breaking down paragraphs into smaller paragraphs and so on. And the last type of edits you're going to do are grammar edits. These are the really nitpicky edits, but they are very, very crucial to giving your reader a good basis and foundation of what you're trying to say in your sentence structure. So that means commas, periods, question marks, exclamation points, semicolons, colons, all those things that you may be cringing inside because you're telling yourself, I am really not good with grammar editing. But you do your best before you still give it to your editor. And once you have done your grammar editing, I highly suggest you reread your work, but don't read it in your head, read it out loud. So that way you're seeing and making sure that your edits make sense when you're reading it out loud and your grammar. Now, for many authors, it is very debatable whether, especially indie press, because traditional publishers will obviously provide you with an editor and that service will be provided to you. But indie publishers and smaller or self-published authors, specifically I'll say self-published authors, sometimes wonder, should I really go with an editor? I can't afford an editor. Listen, this choice is up to you. If you go with an editor, which we all highly suggest, us authors, it is going to make your work solid. You're going to have another set of eyes that will be catching things that you cannot catch. But if you can't hire an editor for whatever reason, and that's very personal to you, the next step is to find beta readers. What do beta readers do? Well, what they do is they read your work for you and they give you their 2 cents about it. Now, obviously, you're going to want to pick people that are honest and willing to give you constructive criticism that is not going to bring down your writing, but that's going to help you see errors or ways of how you write things that are perhaps not as clear as they can be. So if you have a friend or a family member or someone you trust to give you a good and honest review on your work to help you see the bigger picture. Like, oh, this makes sense here, but this character is not acting the way that they've been acting in the first part of your book, so why is that? This doesn't make sense. Those kind of bigger idea developmental edits, you can get that person to read your work and kind of help you pinpoint those problem areas. And then you can get perhaps maybe a friend who is very good in grammar, or they do editing work on the side, or someone who did bachelor's in English in college or university. Get them to read your work. And if they're probably not going to read your whole work and pinpoint every single grammar or punctuation that you did wrong, but they might be able to see trends, or I'll say trends in your writing that need attention. So this actually happened with my first novel, Redeemed from the Ashes. I had an editor take a look at my first 3 chapters, and she said that my grammar was very strong, but one thing that I tended to do quite often was use passive voice instead of active voice. So instead of saying I threw the ball, I would write a sentence like the ball was thrown by Mr. Jacobs. Now, obviously, I did not write that sentence, and I don't think I wrote a sentence about I threw the ball, but just to give you an idea of what active voice and passive voice is. So find that person who is able to just help you give an idea of what trends and patterns are in your writing that really shouldn't be there and that really pull down your writing. So those are my 4 things that I do with every book. I take my time away from it. I read it through once. I do all the edits necessary. I find my beta readers. And then after that, your book is ready to go. Once it's gone through, probably you're going to go through about 5 to 10 edits, I would say is a good number, depending on how large your work is and how fresh you are as a writer. You may need more edits than the norm. That's okay, whatever that journey is for you. And then once your book is ready to go, then you can start thinking, well, I would say even before then, but perhaps then you're going to start thinking, do I self-publish? Do I traditional publish? What are my options? And for that, I've already made a series ready for you to get into, and I'll put that in the cards above. But really, you should be thinking about whether you're going to be self-published or traditional publishing even while you're writing the book. Take that time to research, to do your own research, and to see what would be the best fit for you and your work. I hope that these ideas today have been very helpful to you. Please let me know below if you are a writer, what is your process? Maybe your process looks a little different from mine, and I would love to learn from you. And I would also like to know, do you like to edit? It's something I learned to enjoy as I've been writing. And if you don't, I sure hope you do, because it is a key aspect to getting a book out. Take care, everyone, and see you next week.